Welcome to the 57th weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we are finally done with Wrestlecon, which means I can almost sleep peacefully this summer. We'll talk about Wrestlecon at length later on in the show. But Dana, how are you feeling 1 week removed from the death of Hulk Hogan?
Honestly, it's seeming a little bit more real. Again, this is a total stranger, so I mean, this is not the typical like grieving process here. It's sort of like, I mean, with all the other celebrities I mentioned last time that like hit me hard, like it kind of goes the same way. But I mean, like watching SummerSlam, like for me, Hulk is just like synonymous with SummerSlam, even though he hasn't competed at one in like 19 years. It's just like you see SummerSlam, then hearing his music for that little tribute they did for night one was a little weird. You realize like, wow, you're never going to see the Hulkster come out again. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm dealing with it. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, honestly. Yeah, I watched the tribute. I actually watched Raw and SmackDown this week just to see those tributes. It was all right. I mean, I don't know, when you have someone who is such a transcendent public figure, there's nothing really they could say that I don't know. You know, I would have rathered more sort of personal anecdotes or stories from people, but the truth is, number one, Hulk was a weird and divisive guy, so you probably wouldn't get those. And number two, most of his contemporaries are dead at this point, so you're not really getting anything juicy or interesting or good anyway. So I was, yeah, in the aftermath, I was hoping for something a little bit more, I guess the word is interesting on a media level. We may not ever see it.
Yeah, I mean, you would have gotten like Grayson Waller talking about like, you know, watching WrestleMania 18 on pay-per-view or something, and you would have heard like Brian B. Blair like telling some story about Hulk. Like there was no like Macho Man you could march out, even if he was alive and liked him. Like all the juicy stuff, like you said, isn't really available. So I guess it kind of made sense.
I mean, think about this. Edge was in the audience for WrestleMania 6, right? And Edge is old. So it is just not, there's just not a lot of, in terms of contemporaries, there's not a lot out there left who could say something interesting. And honestly, the ones who are alive and kicking and out there, they kayfabe like crazy. So you have Jimmy Hart's out there. Jimmy Hart's out there spinning lies left and right. Bischoff is out there spinning lies left and right. I have no patience for any of it. I'm not interested in that. You know, Jimmy Hart, he gave an interview that he talked to Hulk the day before and he was doing great. Meanwhile, there are other news reports saying Hulk hasn't been able to speak in weeks. I have very little patience for that kind of, you know, carny stuff. On one level, I love the carny stuff and the absurdity of it, but I'm done with it now. You know, show me something new, tell me a new story, or I don't need it anymore. But I mean, it's on a hobby level. To get to the hobby, you know, we had talked about. I think we talked about that Target had advertised a few weeks back that Mattel was selling upcoming figures by Hulk Hogan that were supposed to be signed, and then we got information that Hulk was signing stickers, and they were affixing stickers to the items. Some of them have already shipped, apparently, or maybe they were shipped to live events. They were sold there. My Target order, your Target order wasn't canceled. We have a ship date for mid-August. So the question is, are we going to get that item, a Hulk autograph from Target at a bargain price? I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah. The fact that it was actually updated, I think twice now since his death, gives me some level of optimism, because you would think they would know by now, like what level of stickers they have. I'm not sure if we made that clear, but these were signed stickers that were placed on the window. So it's not, some people are not really thrilled with it as far as like what it is. I don't think the resale value is really quite as strong. But I mean, listen, a 3-pack that retailed for like $65 with a signed sticker on it for $100. I mean, I will take it any day of the week if they actually want to fill the order and deliver it.
Yeah, and a lot of like weird misinformation going out about these. You take one, if you know Hulk, you take one look at the signatures, you realize they're real. The ones that are in the wild already are real, and yeah, we'll see if we get ours. It's funny because I was gonna order a bunch, and then you know they sold out very quickly, and so I ordered the one. Interestingly, you know, because there were a lot of the same debate, and we're not going to rehash this by any stretch, but the same debate about, what do you sell and what's the etiquette surrounding selling when someone dies. And Hogan's Beach Shop closed for a day and then reopened with the prices jacked up. So that should tell you exactly what the game is. Fanatics is out there selling his stuff. There was only a brief moratorium when they sold out of initial inventory and had to restock the website. So, it's just one of those things that people want to police the small people on Facebook and then ignore, the heavy hitters. And it's really just that psychology. We've talked about it a bunch of times. So, I hope if anyone needed money and needed to cash in by selling some Hogan stuff, they did it. I really hope they did, because the prices are already coming down to earth. And you actually got a bargain on something.
Yeah, this was actually an item I've been watching on eBay for a little while. Like pre-Hogan's death, I had been watching it. It was a full-sized WrestleMania 7 poster signed by Hulk. Nice big signature black Sharpie. The poster has seen some battles. It's got some creases, some small little tears. It's something I was watching. I think prior to his death, it was like $250 or $299, one of those prices. And I guess the guy was very impatient. He's not like an autograph dealer. It was a guy in Clearwater, Florida that sells a little bit of everything. And I was browsing eBay like I routinely do before bed, and I saw the alert that he chopped the price down to it was $150, I think. And I jumped at it because WrestleMania 7 holds a special place in my heart. By far not one of his crowning moments, but as we talked about last week, that was sort of his era that I came up on. So that I just love that era, that poster. And yeah, I'm not gonna fill it up because frankly, it looks pretty fragile. Like just handling it yesterday when I opened it, it's relatively fragile. If I can somehow get a normal price with Sergeant Slaughter and his representation ever, I'll add him, I suppose, just to sort of wrap it up. But otherwise, I'll just wait to get it framed and just leave it as Hulk.
Yeah, that's all you can do. But it's a cool pickup. I saw it. So last Sunday, I think right after we recorded, we had it was the day after. We went to PWJ Damaged Goods 2 in New Jersey. And we were all set to do some signings, and we had a little bit of a mishap. These things happen, but the long and the short of it is, we made our order for prints, our 8x10s and 11x14s. That we made it well in advance with our normal time frame to get there in time for PWJ and for WrestleCon. So there was a huge order, over 1,000 prints, I think, and it just got ping-ponged back and forth in the mail between New York and Philadelphia for days. And so it actually didn't arrive until the day after PWJ. And so as a result, we did have to cancel a couple of signings. We canceled Kylie Ray. We postponed Emily Jaye to get it all taken care of at WrestleCon. And we only got a couple of items from Marcus Mathers. The bulk was not done. Luckily, we did have a full slate for Jackson and for Zeta, so we took care of them. But what were your thoughts on PWJ?
First of all, the print, the little snafu was stressful, as I'm sure you felt the same level of stress.
Let me tell you, I never refreshed the Postal Service website that frequently. That was a new experience.
Yeah, because it got to a point that, with PWJ, in the rear view, and we, we made peace with that. I never liked changing deals or just plans. I think we pride ourselves on being pretty consistent. But the issue was, I was bracing to call the printing company that Monday morning. But, we needed the prints in hand by Thursday. It's it was a whole, nightmare that thank God they came on Monday. And we didn't have to, deal with that. But on to the show. Listen, Gilbert always puts on a great event. Every single show, which, granted, this is only the second one, but it grows. It's bigger in new ways. There were new title belts. There were surprises. he always, you can see he puts his all into the show. His blood, sweat, and tears are evident, as are the blood, sweat, and tears of the opening match. It's like every show now, someone in the opening match suffers some like catastrophic injury. But that, those things happen, and we'll get more into the talent level of things, of the ones that we worked with here that we also saw at WrestleCon in a bit. But always a smooth time.
Yeah, the injury in the first match was hard to watch. It's hard to see. There's nothing else to really say about it. That was a tough one to witness. It's not fun to see a real injury up close. It was not fun. So we do have a couple of reports from other people this week before we start talking about WrestleCon. Greg 2600 kind of had the home run of reports this week. He went up to the Cooperstown for the Hall of Fame signings, and let me tell you, this was a truly tremendous lineup. Joe Torre, Johnny Bench, Tony La Russa, Eddie Murray, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, Jim Thome, Juan Marichal. I mean, there's so many names, huge names from baseball, and Greg was just one after the next. Ryan Sandberg was scheduled to be at that show. They issued a cancellation notice due to illness, and he ended up dying relatively quickly after the show, the next day or two, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't quite a bushwhacker incident since he didn't make it to the show, but I think that might be the quickest cancellation from a con into death that I've ever seen. Yeah,
it was quick. It was a little bit before our time. There is a story about Ernie Ladd and Legends of the Ring where he died the day before. It was some kind of similar thing as well. It was quick. It was right near the show. Oh, yeah,
I recall that. Yeah.
But by and large, yeah, I mean, look, statistically, you have enough names and enough cons, and this is going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it looked awesome. He mentioned that there's just so many names all in one place is cool. He said there was one little quirk, was that the PA system really was not sufficient for an event of that size, and so you couldn't hear when they were calling names for pro ops. So he said he missed a couple of pro ops, but he got them rectified at the table anyway, so it didn't really matter. So it's just one of those things that promoters really need to always be on their toes and listen. It's funny because some promoters will hear feedback like this and get defensive. Others will hear feedback about like this and make important changes so that these things don't ever happen again.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would have loved to have seen the Baseball Hall of Fame come onto the group and insult Greg and call him, maybe associate him with some sort of a rodent or something, I can only imagine the viral hits we would have gotten from that. It is actually refreshing to see that someone isn't going to take. They probably haven't even seen or heard the criticism. But hopefully, if they do, or if other people have the same complaints,
I want to point out before I want to interrupt you. Hall of Fame Signings is a member of Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace. They did see it.
Oh, okay. So they handled it well. Then That is great, and hopefully they make improvements because I mean, on a talent level that they hit it out of the park, just a couple little tweaks and they'd be perfect. It sounds like.
And everyone has tweaks to make. I know we have. I mean, again, we're tiny, obviously, but our operation. But we have tweaks that we are going to make. We were discussing them already for our next convention when we have a table. If you're not thinking about ways to improve your operation, then you're not doing your job. You're not doing your job. That's how it works. You do an event, and then you say, okay, what went right? Great. What could be done better? And be honest about it. And I already know. We talked about what we're going to do better with the pre-orders and stuff. So yeah, I respect companies that do that and make changes like that.
I agree completely.
But Greg seemed like he had a really good time. I mean, it was just so many names. It was almost overwhelming. And I only listed maybe half the names he got. There were just so many. All these huge names. And he said he dropped a mortgage payment. But it's so funny because not to, in America in 2025, that can mean any number of things, just thinking what some people's mortgages could be. But anyway, then Zach Linder also, he went to GalaxyCon Raleigh. I think it's Raleigh. I think that's how you say it. North Carolina, as a VIP. And And I think the interesting story, he got a bunch of names, and these names have been around, like Wayne Knight, Gina Davis, Michael Rooker, and so on. Those names are, not the interesting part of the story. The interesting part of the story to me is that for some reason Zach keeps asking the celebrities if he can photograph them signing his items, and they keep turning him down. What do you make of that?
I think Zach is making a mistake in asking. They are entering a public space where they are charging money for all these different things. If I want to snap a photo of someone signing my item, you can bet your ass I'm going to try to do it. And if someone on their staff wants to launch their body like a projectile to deflect my lens's view, I mean, they are free to do so. But I will not ask anyone.
So you'd be going for a non-consensual photo.
You're sitting at a table. There's your consent right there. You are in public, and you're not, shrouded in some sort of a beekeeper's costume. So yes, they've already consented in my book.
So implied consent.
Yes,
that's hilarious. I'm inclined to agree. I'm busting your chops, but I'm inclined to agree. The premise that someone has an expectation they won't be photographed while they're sitting at a table signing is demented. And if they have a problem with it, they're demented. And
what
there's a difference in a photo op and getting a picture of an item being signed. One of them helps to attest to the authenticity of the item. Some people really enjoy that sort of encapsulating that moment of the signature in a memory, a photograph as well. God bless, I have no problem with it.
I'm surprised that no one has attached any sort of monetary value to those photos, like $10, $20 to snap a candid of them signing their item. I mean, listen,
I think there would be some pushback against that, because I think a lot of the people would see that as egregious. But you're right. I'm surprised no one's tried it, but I really do think that would get some negative publicity.
I don't think it would be half bad if you did it on the talents that are very, very, very hyper vigilant, that you struggle even without consent to sort of get it done, because they will catch you and yell at you and threaten you and all that stuff. Like if it's like a Mel Gibson type of name, I think people that want it, that know they're not going to get it, would appreciate the opportunity at a small fee, of course, to get it. But listen, if anyone comes up with the idea, I thought of it first.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen it.
But wait, I'm not so sure. Did Zach ask? I saw Zach snap a candid of Smokes signing his print. I'm not so sure if Zach asked him. Did he ask him?
He asked me.
Oh, he asked you. Okay, so you gave consent on Smokes' behalf. I guess that's fair. That works.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm just busting Zach's balls, of course.
Yeah. Nice. It was funny. And we'll talk. We have a lot to say about WrestleCon, so
yep.
Just bear with us. Then there was WWE did something kind of interesting. They had tryouts for I guess for the roster. There was I think one name on there who was interesting, who we actually bumped into multiple times at WrestleCon. By and large, it seemed like a rather uneventful thing. But the interesting part was they charged admission for people to watch it, and part of me on some level has a problem with that. I mean, you have some of these people are barely have 6 months experience, and you're usually charging people to watch that. I don't know. It's a weird. I think it's a weird thing. I think they're really getting overly aggressive in monetizing things that have never been monetized before, and it's just a strange thing to see. But that being said, I didn't even go to the event. Jeff Seltzer went to it. Sean and Finn went to it, and they seemed to have a great time. So I thought my favorite part of the whole thing was that Jeff Seltzer goes there to see some wrestlers, and he ends up getting a photo op with Cheryl Hines from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, that was probably the last person in the world you would expect to see at something like that. And to double back to your point about sort of charging for something like that, I think you're looking at it more that like you're charging about the talent and seeing the talent, but I think it's more about like when you go to like a dairy barn or something to see how cheese is made. You're not actually going there. You're not really looking at and focusing on the cheese. It's really about the entire operation. You want to see the WWE machine at work.
I get it, but those people who are trying out are not being paid.
Yeah.
So you're making money off people who aren't being paid. On a fundamental level, I have a problem with that. If you're charging money for something I'm doing, I should be paid for that. Now, of course, there's a power imbalance in that situation. So the people who are trying out would never say anything because they want to get signed. And that's one of the inherent issues with power imbalances in the entertainment industry is something like that. It's just, to me, it's scummy because really, how much are they making from that? It's nickels, and based on unpaid talent. But that's just, I know it's part of the system we're a part of. What else? Competing with Wrestlecon this weekend was the SummerSlam Takeover event. And I gotta say, for the first time in a while, there were just a bunch of negative reviews of a Fanatics event, a Fanatics WWE event. There were some on our board, and then there was on some our Facebook group. I was at the board, geez, and there were some elsewhere. From what I saw, the general complaints were mostly the same. There was a level of disorganization in the photo ops that typically isn't present with Epic Photo Ops running the show. And then the second piece of it is that one guy commented, was really adamant. I think this is egregious. There were no 8x10s available for any of the talent. You had, and while, okay, that is unusual. And there were some people who commented and said, well, you should have your own stuff or you should know better. In the email that Fanatics sent out when you bought your tickets, it said, like in the FAQ, that you could bring, that you could bring your own item, or they would have stuff there for you. So I don't know how you can defend that. And then to make matters worse, the guy said he went to get it because he had nothing to get signed. He went to ask the desk for a refund for his tickets. They said yes, told him to make a request through the website, and then he got an email that his request was denied. So just a huge fumble from Fanatics on this one.
Yeah, I won't even call it I think a situation like that, an event like that, that is where at this point in time, that's where the original promos or whatever the original promos look like today, that's typically where you get them. So if you go to an event like that empty-handed, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're some some rube that just fell off the turnip truck, or that you've bumped your head a few times too many and you don't know what you're supposed to do. It could be that you just expect a WWE promo photo type, print, and you're a collector of those things, which it's a niche in the hobby, but I mean it's a strong and a loud one. And I mean, if you were if you sent an Auction Andrew to an event like that, he's probably going to go empty-handed as well because he would want the promos. And if you are advertising that there will be 8x10s, it's going to be something official with some sort of collectability. And they had nothing. That's a little crazy. Maybe their print order was bouncing between New York and Philly. So, I mean, I could perhaps feel their pain. But, I mean, on a magnitude of this level, I mean, you gotta have prints. You can't be getting... What I found amusing was that some people were getting printer paper signed, which that's actually pretty wild.
It's sad. And what kills me is that people defend this kind of thing. Call it what it is, a screw up. Take ownership. Refund people. If you screw up, refund people. That's how it works. You can't take no ownership and then screw people over. It's ridiculous. So I felt really bad for that. And it's certainly, you think Fanatics has a well-oiled machine, a good operation, and they pull nonsense like this and just shake your head. Like, what are you doing, man? But I'm glad that it's funny. I loved Fanatics Fest, but when I looked at people's reports from this event, there were a lot of people who had a great time, and the photo ops looked unbelievable. But frankly, I look at most of the ops, and I don't care about most of the names. I am not big on caring about ops with WWE mid-card and undercard talent. I'm just not. I don't care about them. I know other people do. It's reasonable to. I just don't. And so, and that was basically the bulk of who this was, with a few exceptions. So,
yeah, I used to be a collect them all kind of person, and I've shaken that a bit. There were a couple of ops there that were cool. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, but Solo Sikoa is going to be somewhere in the upper crust, I think, for years to come. He was I didn't even see him up for sale. He was a last minute ad that I didn't catch. Not that I would have gotten him or was able to get him. But Solo, Braun, there were a couple I would have liked to have gotten in a perfect world without conflict. But the vast majority, as cool as they looked, I agree with you. I'm not dying for a lot of these names.
So your goal is to just collect all the nepo babies of WWE.
Basically.
Yeah, I know that's not the most popular sentiment, but I could do without Solo or Braun on any level. But they would still. I mean, overall, I saw people's stuff. It looked cool. It looked good. But yeah, it's a weird fumble for an operation as large as Fanatics. This is where we'll talk about. I mean, so many people sent in WrestleCon reports. So many people tagged us on Instagram. We'll talk about WrestleCon after the break. There was something funny that happened. We've talked a lot about Ford's autographs and stuff in the past. We Dana and a couple other people, I'm not involved, created a kind of a sister group on Facebook, the Disqualified group, talking about Ford's autographs and stuff like that. Having people attest to the authenticity of autographs and things like that in the wrestling hobby. And so there was a guy maybe a couple weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, who had bought a bunch of stuff from GTG, who we've talked about multiple times on this show. And he sent it in for JSA, and JSA failed all 4 items. This guy went on a rampage. Well, I guess it's safe to say that. It's safe to use that word. He's very upset.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, submitting stuff to JSA and having them fail it is costly. It is. And he had demanded a refund from GTG, and I know there were issues with procuring the refund. I think some of the issue was that he didn't want to send them the items back because he was afraid that they were going to resell it, and he's not wrong. That's exactly what they would do. But then he wouldn't want to resend stuff back. Whatever. That's not my business. But the interesting thing is that one of the items that he had signed was a figure, an action figure of retired WWE legend Tatanka, the Native American superstar. And I guess this guy, he tracked Tatanka down at a wrestling con and asked Tatanka, "Is this your signature?" Because it failed a third-party authentication. And Tatanka cuts a promo on video hilariously. It's a hilarious promo. I recommend you watch it. Just if you really have a dark sense of humor and get a kick out of the insanity of this hobby, you'll love the Tatanka video. Because it's basically Tatanka cutting a promo on Richie Sorrentino, claiming that it's not his signature and you need to beware of GTG and all this other stuff. And look, I have no comment on the specifics of all of this, because quite frankly, I do believe the autograph is probably real of Tatanka. It looked good to me, just on a cursory glance. That being said, spending money with Richie in the first place is just dumb. But with Tatanka, there is some humor in Tatanka probably not being able to recognize his own autograph. That's just my take on it. What's your take?
Well, first of all, Richie is honestly, accidentally, and objectively hilarious, because I mean, his response to the Tatanka video was that the gentleman Trent must have drugged the Native American Tatanka and I guess slipped something in his drink to get him to make this video, which, I mean, I burst out laughing when I read that. I thought that was hilarious. It's insane. And I mean, honestly, a terrible excuse for, to defend this video and explain it away. But I mean, it was funny. He is funny.
Imagine if
he means to be funny. What?
No, he definitely does. Imagine if that's where your brain goes. You're that unwell and that sort of limited. That's where your brain goes. It's funny. It really is funny.
I'll be honest, and I don't want to go deep down a wormhole here, and I want to just to be fair, because I know I'll get some sort of a comment or a message back from someone in the GTG camp. I defended Richie because he messaged me about this privately maybe 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And I defended the whole refund thing because I think it goes without saying, until the item is back in hand, no matter what it is, you don't refund someone. I wouldn't. If I sold someone, like I said, I use the example of a diamond or an empty bag of Doritos. You don't do a refund until you have your item back. So until Trent would return the item, I don't think he's really owed a refund. So I defend Richie in that regard. But honestly, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm biased, because maybe I have my opinions of what I think GTG typically sells. But I think of all the people out there, I think Tatanka is one of the few I would take a little more seriously than others. Because I don't know if you've really met and spoken to Tatanka much in the last, since COVID. but he is really like he's kind of nuts, but I mean he really takes this stuff seriously. He really is very meticulous in how he signs, what he signs, inspecting the stuff he does. He really takes his time on everything. Whereas Edge was signing those Leaf cards or whatever they were, whatever brand they were. I think it was Leaf. He was signing them a mile a minute, not really caring one way or the other. Tatanka really like is a mark for himself in like a Bret Hart kind of way. And if there's one guy out there that I would trust to be like, that's not my signature, he's definitely on that list. So, you know, gun to my head, I would probably say it's not quite his signature, which, I mean, that's the standard with the sources that we're talking about here, you know, what we think. And a lot of people out there are like relying on the whole who was faking Tatanka. And if that's your thought and that's what you're going into this whole market with that sort of preconceived notion that there's people that are too small to be faked, you are definitely a victim, or you're going to become a victim if you're buying stuff. Because there's no one too small to be faked. No one. And that is a dangerous, whether you think Tatanka's right or not, whether you think this exact autograph is right or not. If you're using the idea that Tatanka is too small and not worth being forged, you are operating from a very, very inaccurate place.
I do agree with you in the sense that I haven't seen. I love how you say, "Have I seen how many times have I seen Tatanka since COVID?" I haven't seen Tatanka since 2009, so I have no idea what's going on through his head.
I've actually spent more time than any sane person who hasn't worked with Tatanka should.
But I think your point is very well received and very important, which is that there is no one too small to be faked. We've seen ridiculous names be faked. There are $5 autographs being faked by these cretins. That's how it works. They mix good and bad, so the marketplace becomes confused as to what is theirs and what is not theirs. That's part of the overall strategy. You mix in junk at every level, and then it becomes hard to separate what is junk and what is not junk. So
yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why I hate these guys so much.
And one more just quick note, because I know I'm going to get messages after this. I am not saying Richie faked a Tatanka autograph. I don't think Richie has ever faked an autograph by his own hand. I wouldn't even be sure if these are fake, that Richie would have been aware they were fake. Because, I mean, I think you buy from certain sources. I think the mixing can take place even before you're touching it. So, I mean, I am not saying Richie's faking Tatanka autographs personally, but I wouldn't be shocked if this one was in fact fake, since, I mean, you have Tatanka and JSA saying the same thing. Wrestlers and TPAs can both get it wrong, but when they're both saying the exact same thing from a source that has several blemishes on them already, I think it shouldn't be discounted too quick.
As I've said before, I don't think Richie has the mental capability to fake any of these things. The only thing he can fake is Facebook profiles like Jerome Carter. Beyond that, I don't think he has the capabilities of faking anything. He's just not capable of that kind of thing. So I think he's definitely buying from someone else, and someone who's smarter and more evil as opposed to just stupid is doing this. So enough with these guys. It was a funny story. I highly recommend you check out and just find the Tatanka video. Maybe I should link to
TikTok. It is on our TikTok.
Maybe I should put a link to it in the show notes so people can watch the video. It's just so silly and so funny and so absurd that you're just like shaking your head at this whole insane thing while watching it. That was my takeaway. It's something that's such small potatoes, but again, if you bought a bunch of stuff and you sent it all into TPA and it all comes back fake, I understand the rage.
I'd be pissed.
I just don't understand how now, knowing what's out there, how you could still give money to these idiots, but people do every single day.
It's all about the deal, man. It's all about the deal. And then, I mean, the GTG sticker kind of shines like the other one. So it's got a sticker. It's a good deal. What can go wrong?
Yeah. You also, it was your idea. I had no part of this, and I really love that you did it. You debuted the idea. I can't even talk. You debuted Wicked Ink Wednesday, as kind of the sister of Photo with Friday. So Wicked Ink Wednesday. I love these alliterative things. The idea is that people post their cool things from their collections to show off for others. So of course, because this was still the week of Hulk's death, lots of people posted stuff Hulk related things in Wicked Ink Wednesday. So I'm hoping for more of a diversity of items this upcoming Wednesday. But a couple of things stood out to me as being kind of neat, kind of interesting. The first was we got a freaking gem Michael Jackson with a Beckett letter. You saw that one?
Yeah, that was crazy.
So, I would love to have some kind of Michael Jackson piece. I'm just not anywhere near wanting to spend the, north of $1,000 it would take. Even like kind of bad quality Michael Jackson autographs are north of $1,000 at this point. And that's just not where I'm at. And on the wrestling end of it, I don't know this guy, Frank. Do you know the guy, Frank, who dropped a photo of a signed black card Ravishing Rick Rude LJN figure?
I don't think I saw, but was it Ben Pinsada?
No.
Okay, then no. I know
Romeo?
Ben Pinsada's an LJN guy. Oh, Frank Romeo. He's from the Major Pod group, I believe.
So, full Beckett letter, Ravishing Rick Rude on just a mint on card Ravishing Rick Rude black LJN figure is very expensive. Not signed. Signed, there probably are fewer than 50 of them out there, period, in the world. Maybe fewer than 25.
I feel like it could be single digits. Like, that's crazy.
They're exceedingly rare. These things were the black card LJNs. I remember desperately wanting them because those black card LJNs, for those people, we're going to go down a figure rabbit hole for 30 seconds. The black card LJNs were released when the LJN license expired and they moved over to the Hasbro license. And so distribution on those black card figures was so limited. So Haku, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, even though there was I don't remember. But yeah, but those, and there was one more, I think, in the black card. This is why I don't remember because so many years have passed by it. And I haven't, guy like that. Yeah, I haven't been an LJN collector since I was like 8. So I don't remember, but I do remember that Warrior and the Haku. There was a Warlord black card as well.
Yes, I actually just pulled up the thread right now. Somehow I've been so busy this week I didn't catch that one. That is insane. That is like really hell. The bubble isn't even like yellowing. That's beautiful.
Yeah, you're looking at something that to the right buyer is worth thousands. So stuff like that is super cool. Thank you for posting it. And I would really love for people to post some rare stuff. I'm debating the wheels have been turning all week. What can I throw out there that no one has seen yet? Because I have some cool stuff that no one has seen yet.
When's it going to happen that someone posts an autograph that's fake? Like, someone's going to drop a Linda Hogan, someone's going to drop a Staten Island Blue, something or other. Like, that's coming, and we're going to have the community, like, sort of fighting in that thread. But listen, I'm here for it.
We have to figure out how we navigate all that. You want to talk about some of the ads from the cons coming up?
Yes, Chiller has added from Seinfeld. They added Banya. They added Jackie Childs, who I actually regretted missing at that Star Trek con on Long Island. So this is nice. I don't know what I'm going to do with Seinfeld long term. Brian Sokol the other day put this thought into my mind about starting like a logo like cast piece for like all these like obscure characters, well, and big characters as well if the opportunity arises. And I don't, as much as I don't need another project, I'd be lying if I said it's not really like on my mind now, if I should. But I'm excited regardless. I think that's really cool. And they also added Vito from The Sopranos, who you missed at Eternal Con. And
I got to bust out the leather chaps and try again.
And listen, he'll probably make you that same deal for that bobblehead. And if he doesn't, if you're feeling frisky, you might be able to float him the offer.
I very well may.
In other news, going across the interstate, Chill Out has added Kevin Dhillon, Johnny Drama from Entourage. And honestly, I would like to see Adrian Grenier get over there because I do need him on a cast print. In addition to Kevin Dhillon, they also added Lorraine Bracco from Sopranos and Goodfellas. And you still need Lorraine, and I need 2 autographs from Lorraine. So I think now's as good a time as any. In addition to that, we have Jimmy Hart coming to town. I assume he'll have Tony Hunter in check, and he will have his crazy pricing that I think he's been having lately. In addition to Jimmy Hart, everyone get your Subway sandwiches ready. Footlong and 6-inch. Gorgeous George from WCW fame is coming to chill out.
We have Monster Mania finally pulled the plug officially on Method Man, which we had suspected was coming. Richard Harmon also had to drop out at the last minute, and they did add sort of omnipresent Michael Biehn. I imagine his wife will be there too, because she always is when he comes. Yeah, I mean, not terribly exciting there. Yeah. Monster Mania kind of took a dip a little bit.
People were hoping for, sorry to cut you off, but people were looking for replacements. But I honestly think that Method Man was sort of on thin ice right before they went and announced Harbor from what's that show called on Netflix? The hell's wrong with me?
Stranger Things,
yes. I think he was silently the replacement for Method Man, because I mean, they pulled Method Man, then they teased an announcement. It was Harbor.
I don't think that was. I don't think
David
Harbor needs significant lead time. So I think he's been in the works forever.
Well, even
he's working. He has projects constantly.
I don't think a replacement's coming. I think Bean, they added Bean. I wouldn't be holding my breath. I think where they're at is where they're at.
Yeah, for sure. Steel City Con adds my girl Heather Matarazzo, who I love. Welcome to the Dollhouse is one of my favorite movies ever. I'm very excited to see her again. I traveled to Atlantic City to a terrible con I think it was Showboat in Atlantic City just to meet Heather Matarazzo. And I was terribly nervous that she was gonna cancel at the last minute. And I was that show had Pete and Pete from Nickelodeon, and Heather Matarazzo, and that was pretty much it. It was terrible, but I loved it, and she was amazing. So I got to see if I want to dig something else up if I have only a couple days before Steel City. But I love her, and I Welcome to the Dollhouse is one of my favorite movies ever. So I'm super excited. It's just another great ad. You've never gotten to Heather, right?
No, but I did take some pieces from Brian to get done. So if I'm at the table in front of her, I mean, I imagine I'll grab a selfie. She's probably a combo name, so I mean, I'll get some sort of a savings.
That said, Steel City canceled David Wenham, who has filming in New Zealand, and Parker Posey. So those are two kind of big names to cancel. Thankfully, 2 names that were not on my list. So I'm super excited. I think Steel City turned out to be a fantastic show. As much as I criticized that lineup at the beginning, I think at the end, I'm very, very happy with Steel City. You're probably less happy than me, but you seem pretty okay with it now.
Listen, Mr. Woodchuck is big. I'm quite happy about the Woodchuck. I'm happy about the Connor kids. And listen, Steel City kicked it into high gear. And before we get into Wrestlecon, I want to just throw out there that we met the listener who kept stirring the pot on the Steel City group by posting our screenshot of like the show notes. And listen, since he started doing that, they I would say kicked this up at least 10 to 15 degrees. So well played, dude. And if our show notes were able to in any way increase our excitement for Steel City and everyone else's, well, you're welcome, America.
I'm really happy with Steel. I'm excited. Rhode Island, they added a Degrassi Next Generation or New Generation reunion. I don't really know the names, but I recognize some of the faces. I've seen like the posters and stuff and the DVD covers for that show. None of the big names, but most of the smaller ones, and a good chunk of the smaller ones. So that looks like a pretty decent reunion. If Degrassi is your thing, they're doing a Psych reunion and another Cobra Kai reunion. I mean, a Cobra Kai is one of those things that just continues. The property continues to get milked over and over again by these cons, but they continue to draw. So I'm kind of saying, if they're going to continue to draw, then of course you're going to book them. But that's just not something that I'm interested in. Frankly, I can go into a whole freaking thesis about Cobra Kai. The truth of it is, I think that show just dived off a cliff after season 1 or at the end of season 1. And I will take that to my grave. I think that after the season 1 finale, I was not interested in the show anymore. So, are you a Cobra Kai person or no?
I watched, I think, the first 2 seasons. I liked them both. It was one of those shows I fell out of. But how I wrote this up in the show notes, it's sort of like the B-side reunions. Like, it's a weird Cobra Kai reunion. I don't think I've never seen one quite like this. It's honestly a lot of newer characters or smaller characters that I either never met or don't remember from like when I was watching the show. So that's a little weird. Psych, I thought they might get Dhillon and James, but they got neither one. So it's like the weird, like little, back end one. And like the Degrassi one, I was a Degrassi fan. I think my age, I probably shouldn't have been a Degrassi fan, but I was. And I mean, I get they're not going to get Drake. Like clearly Drake is out. But like the other key people from this show, unless I'm missing, maybe they're huge in Canada. I don't think they are. Like, there's certain ones that were bigger than these names that I would have thought would be added, and they weren't. And I check like off air, like what the price of the group up is. I'll probably get it because it's probably a once in a lifetime kind of thing. I don't imagine they'll do a ton. But I mean, at a certain point, I have to draw a line on Rhode Island and like what I'm going to do. I mean, I think if I did the math right now, I'm probably approaching Greg's mortgage payment in Cooperstown. So I have.
So what's interesting is I pulled up the group photo op page for Rhode Island, and they don't have a Degrassi reunion photo op for sale yet. You know what that means, right?
More to come.
More to come. So,
or they're so obscure they're going to be deep in that claustrophobia room, like behind the broom closet somewhere. But I'm going to hope. I think I like your scenario better. More to come.
No, I mean there's a couple of them that are like, okay. I never really watched Degrassi, and so I'm not going to know any of the characters' names. But like there was that nerdy girl with the glasses, right? Like I remember she was around for a few years at least. No.
Yeah, she was big. I mean, I actually just Googled the names. Like you need Emma, you need Manny, you need I mean, to me those are the two you need. If you don't have one of those, then you're not going to get Drake.
Wait, Emma the girl? Because I remember this episode was infamous. Was that the girl who met up with the guy from the internet?
I believe that was Emma. Yes.
Yeah, that was funny. I saw a clip of that. I think on like TikTok or something.
But hold on, not to go on to complete the Degrassi rant, but this show came out in 2002. It was a high school drama, and I was in high school, so I don't know why I felt like I was too old to watch it. It always felt like some dirty little secret that I was watching Degrassi. But I mean, I was kind of like age appropriate, 15. Not the worst, I guess.
I reserve the right to criticize.
Feel free.
I'm looking through. Where did you see this, Rhea? I'm not seeing any of these people on the guest list. Oh, here we go.
I was gonna.
Melissa. The girl, Melissa McIntyre. I recognize the face. Mike Lobel, I don't. Pat Mastriani, the kid with the hat, I've seen on the DVD cover for sure. The girl with the glasses, the nerdy girl. I don't know, Sarah Barrable Tishauer. I recognize that face. She was a featured person. Also, yeah, Shane Kipple was a featured kid also.
No, it's not the worst. I would have liked one of what I viewed as the top 2 girls. I would have one of those. I would say completely legitimate, like this is a big time reunion. It just seems weird for 2 people that don't have any career that I can, again, who knows what they're doing, but I can't name what they're doing why you'd be above doing this, but fair. Who knows?
Yeah, this is well beyond my area, so I'm going to punt to you.
And I'll punt to someone else because I'm
Degrassi lover over here. You ran photo with Friday again. We got a couple interesting ones. Martine shows up with a pretty rare Faith No More vocalist Mike Patton photo op. Don't see too many of those around. Great shot. That was super cool. And then one that really popped me was Brett Pasternak posted his shot with Chris Candido. I know people people who did the ECW shows got Chris Candido, but I never did, and so I never saw him. So it's always fun to see. Like Chris Candido is one of those guys who would have been made for the con scene if he hadn't died.
Oh God, yeah, he would have been traveling everywhere with Sonny. It would have been a complete no-brainer.
Yeah, but so I mean, obviously circumstances didn't work out. But so yeah, he died tragically young. So that was it's always cool to see like prime Candido shots are always fun to see. Yeah, that's what I got for the news. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store, Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Also, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and or a review. You can leave a rating and or a review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a rating on Spotify, or you can leave a comment, thumbs up or thumbs down on YouTube. So let's talk about WrestleCon. Let's talk about the positives first. Who were your pleasant surprises?
I honestly couldn't believe the business that Emily Jaye did.
Emily Jaye has, I was joking with her the whole time. People love Emily Jaye. They love her.
She's fun. She gets it. She really gets it. Like she can handle all the interaction, the normal and the abnormal. She handles it well. She has, I guess, the it factor, which I mean, there's people that don't and people that do, and she definitely does. And the more I see her work, the more I see her sort of interact with the fans, and I see sort of her the grasp she has on the fans. I understand why she's in the position she's in.
Should I tell the story about the Twitter?
Oh, you have to.
So I didn't even know she did this. So I guess at some point she tweeted out something to the effect of, I guess she's a Monster Energy drinker, which I cannot relate to, but and so she tweeted something to the effect of, "Oh, I really wish I had a Monster Energy drink. White is my favorite flavor." And she just tweeted it, and then like a few minutes later, someone showed up to the table. Some just random stranger, some fan, showed up at the table and just gave her 2 giant, not like normal size, and I don't know, maybe all Monster Energy drinks are that size. I don't really know. These things look like freaking troughs. 2 giant Monster Energy drinks, and she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy, thank you." But it was, I just looked at her. I'm like, "What the hell just happened?" And she just sort of giggled, and that's how she is. And the fans love her, and so many people, when they came up to talk to her, she treated them like they were her best friend. Like she knew them from social media, they were friends, and and she was happy to see them. And she made everyone feel great about themselves. And that's how you do business at a con.
Yeah, she's built for this stuff. And it was actually really great to see. How about you?
Yeah, couldn't have been happier.
What jumped out at you?
I mean, let's get the elephant in the room discussed. Heartbreak Drake is a star.
Yeah.
In a way that I clearly both I and we have been investing in Jackson Drake for the past several months. I've been high on him for a long time. This was his first, run at this type of environment. And he just has a natural magnetism that people like him. And he didn't have to try. He wasn't like, it didn't seem fake or forced. People just liked him, and he did ridiculous business. But I couldn't have predicted how well he did. He's right now he's in that stage where he's like super humble, almost a little bit too humble. Like, oh, no one could possibly be here for me. I'm he does that kind of shtick, that kind of gimmick. The nonstop table action for Jackson Drake was a sight to behold.
Yeah, it was. I always sort of go into these things with a little more pessimism than you do. You try to be the optimistic one. I'm always like, oh, well, we got this, and WWE did that, and, we don't know. And, yeah, he did tremendous business. It was pretty much a nonstop for, I would say, about a third of the signing. There was an actual line. When the line was finally like broken down, you would get someone walking up every couple of minutes, and you did an awesome job all weekend. You were typically the first line sort of contact as far as checking people in, taking the money. I was the one sort of in the trenches behind the table dealing with all the prints. So we had to, like, because, you know, we were trying to get the backstop done during the appearance, which is sort of a juggling act sometimes, but like we made it work. And it's funny, I was talking, I mean, listen, there's a lot of things that Jackson and I said to each other that would get us bumped up to a different, language thing as far as explicit content. So I will not share much of what we said, but we talked about his sort of like handling of the fans and like giving of himself in these environments. And he remarked about how that there was one person that like wanted a little much of him. And I know, you stepped in and sort of deflected. And he's like, if I was an asshole, like I would have handled that differently. And I said to him, I said, do you see yourself ever getting to a point in situations like this where you would become the asshole that would handle that differently? And he's like, honestly, I don't really think that's in me. And he just said how he wants everyone to feel good, that you come to this event, you meet him, you want to feel like you had a moment.
The and I sort of made it. People take and they get abusive, right? Like the dude, the podcast guy. If you want to make it quick, but he puts him on the spot and he wants to try and have him on this podcast, this and that. And so I just said, give me the contact and I'll give it to Jackson later, right? That was my way of ending the interaction, because someone like Jackson is genuinely nice. He wants fans to have a good time. He doesn't want to be a jerk. So that what people may not realize is that it falls on us to end the interaction, because you're just asking something of him and you're not giving anything in return. And there were a few instances with that. So maybe you want to finish. Did you finish what you're saying about Jackson before I can get into some of that?
But no, you're entirely right. That's what it really comes down to. Listen, we work with Jackson a lot. You don't see us trying to go, let's drag Jackson onto our podcast. Like at this stage of his career, a podcast appearance is not going to do a hell of a lot for him. If you are making your podcast introductions tableside like this, you're not. It's not busted open. It's not one of those podcasts that maybe he would get some actual like rub from being on it. So yeah, people want to just take and not give. And what I think some people fail to understand, which I think will let you segue into your next point, whether the talent is directly touching the money you pay for the photos and the autographs or not, it allows us, our success or any other vendor's success allows that talent to be booked again. It all cycles around. It is cyclical in every way, shape, and form. So when you just take and don't give, you're not, forget us, forget anything, forget, if you don't want to support Sean and I or Eric Sims or anyone like that, the talent is not going to get supported going forward if the vendors aren't getting supported.
Yeah. I mean, the number of leeches who came to that show, maybe that's harsh, mooches, whatever, people who wanted to come and have a moment and not part with a nickel, is unbelievable. And I got into two. I don't know. I'm usually the one who's kind of quiet and low key, and I got into two pretty significant altercations as a result of this show.
And let me just say, one of them is I think perhaps my all-time favorite story now involving you. It's completely hilarious. So I actually can't wait for you to tell this one.
So the first one, and I'm gonna be totally transparent, because why not? What the hell do I have to lose? So the first one was early in the day on Saturday. So there was a little bit of a snafu scheduling wise, where honestly, Greg Izzy said it best. The parking was a little bit of a disaster on Saturday. There was no attendant guiding traffic or guiding people to a different lot when the first lot filled up. The lot got filled up by 10 o'clock. And so it was a little bit of a mess. So much so that Brad Baylor didn't get to the table until 10:45, even though he was scheduled at 10 o'clock. And because he was sitting in his car outside the parking lot since 10:05. And so there was 35 minutes of just sitting in the parking lot, because the parking lot was a little bit of a zoo. I think that it's important, and Greg brought this up. There's a great point on Facebook, and a lot of people, because they felt the need to rush to WrestleCon's defense, didn't acknowledge this point. The large cons, what they do is they will post an FAQ on their website with like, if you're coming from this direction, park here, or you're coming from that direction, park here. If this slot's full, park here. Like Monster Mania has all that, right? New York Comic Con has all that. Rhode Island has all that. WrestleCon didn't do that. And so we're relatively local. And when we drove in, we had no idea where we were going to go. Now, it ended up all working out for us. But if you're not from around here and you're coming driving from a far distance, a little bit of guidance would go a long way. I think that's an important thing for the future, to have an FAQ page to tell people kind of how to navigate the parking, the public transportation, the this, the that. It doesn't take much time to do that, but it's important. And so it segues into the thing. So I was very stressed Saturday morning. I'm not going to lie. Friday was a very easy day. Emily Jaye was wonderful. Kelly Madden was wonderful. Diamond Virago was wonderful. Love the Shooter Boys. Great kids. Friday was easy. Saturday, we were met with chaos in the morning. And so I'm not going to lie. When things are not going my way, when I'm a little bit, on edge, I take that out. If you do something that bothers me, I'm much, much, much less inclined to just let it go. That's a personality thing I have. And if you know me, and now Dana, you've known me for a number of years, how frequently do I get angry?
Not often.
It's very
Not too
rare.
often.
I don't let things bother me in life. I just don't. Stuff happens. I don't like it. I just smile and laugh and just let it go. For some reason, certain things really bothered me. And so one of the things that happened was, Brad and Ricky were at the table. We were trying to make up for lost time by trying to get Backstock signed. And I guess these people walked up to the table who knew Ricky somehow from training, they said. Now, what that means, I don't even begin to speculate, because these people were clearly not athletes. So they did not train with him. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's just, transparently obvious. They were not athletes. And they were carrying on and talking to him while he was supposed to be signing stuff for us. And I let it go, because we weren't doing any direct business, and they're talking. And then he gets up from behind the table and they're talking more. And you're thinking, okay, all right. And at some point, I kind of looked over and gave it's time to wrap this up facial expression, because we had, we were paying for this interaction. And they took a photo with Ricky and then walked away. And now I know the talent is put in a weird spot there in that situation, because the talent, again, should never be forced to say no to someone. And I got super pissed. And I said it was what appeared to be a husband and wife, or certainly a woman and a man traveling together. And I said, you know him from training. You should know better. You don't do that when someone's on the clock. And they got super flustered and because I raised my voice. I did, which I don't do in life, but I was fuming at that point. And I said, and they said, well, what? He agreed to it. And I said, are you paying him? Are you paying me? Because I am paying him right now. I am paying for this. You are paying nothing. I paid for this. What? Why are you entitled to something for free? And then the guy's like, well, he said okay. And then they ran away. And then I didn't see them again. And they probably knew him, and they probably were friendly with him. And the talent, and I reiterated to the talent again, you do not give people things for free, because there are people who walk around these shows and they just steal the entire show. That was the first one, which segued into the second one. So just a little bit of context. There is a podcaster of sorts. His name is Justin. He's from the Wrestling Classic podcast. It apparently has some decent listenership, certainly more than this podcast does. And Justin came by the table on Friday to interview Emily Jaye. And I didn't say anything about it, because Emily Jaye was, I'm going to get a little bit inside here. Emily Jaye was working for us on a split. And that means really I have no right to tell her. She could be, she could walk away from the table for an hour. And what am I going to really say? She's just costing herself money. Now, she didn't do that because she's a total pro, but she did do the interview with this guy. And I kind of didn't want to step in, because I left it up to her, because again, she was her own boss.
At that point, we're like partners in that, the talent, right. And Alex. So, we're not like in any position to sort of order them around.
And I just want to be clear. It is bad form to walk up to a vendor table and ask the guest but not the vendor if you can interview the guest. You don't do that. But again,
No.
I was in a situation where I'm not going to say no for Emily. She's a grown woman. She is working for herself in that moment. I'm okay with it. Let it happen. Right? Fine. Saturday, it was a lot of stress in that building. So as Jackson was coming into the building, Brad and Ricky were leaving the building for their shift. This same guy, and now you didn't know it was him at the time, but this same guy stopped them in the hallway, in the lobby, and got a photo op with all three of them together. Okay? And now you told me this happened, and I gave you attitude at the time. I know I did, because I was already, my stress level was high, and it made me mad. And I was not mad at you, know that, but I know I reacted negatively to it. You could acknowledge that. I did.
I don't blame you.
And
I thought in that moment, just to give my side of it, in that moment, it seemed as though he had some real familiarity with Brad and Ricky. And at that point, Brad and Ricky were off the clock. And I know that we've told them numerous times, not just them, but all these ID people, about don't give freebies here, don't give freebies there. You got to, build up your value, yada, yada, yada. I figured at that point, who am I they're walking out they were paid cash in hand. They're on their way out. If they want to do something with someone they know, it's not really I don't like it, but it's not my prerogative to really say anything. And then he said, oh, Jackson, get in here. And then I was in a weird spot where I was about to block the camera. And then I'm but I think they all know this guy well. And that makes me look like a lunatic. So I'm maybe I shouldn't. And they didn't know him. And I should have.
And with these con men, and Justin from the Wrestling Classic is a thieving con man, is what he is. They that's their thing. They're very good at, he is very good at making everyone, oh yeah, I know you, we're friends with you. It makes people not sure in the moment. And these talents, they're not sure in the moment. They are putting I never really thought about this before, but you're a talent at one of these shows. You're kind of put on display. You don't want to be perceived as doing something that might get you in trouble or might hurt someone's feelings. So you're hypersensitive to that. So you kind of have to roll with it. And so, anyway, we didn't know who it was at the time, but then this numbnuts, he posted on, I don't know how you found it, but he posted, because Jackson shared on his story, right? He posted it on Instagram. Okay, so now this is me. when the show is over, I am on fire in the lobby. I'm on fire because he posted on Instagram. So I replied. He did it as a post, not even as a story, as a post. So I replied to the Instagram post with, "You owe me $75." More or less. I don't remember the exact wording, but what gives you the right to steal in the lobby of a convention? And again, this podcaster basically thought that he didn't have to pay. Was he spending any money? No. Was he doing anything to elevate or help these talent? No. What was he trying to do? Get clout for himself. That's why he's a thieving piece of shit. And I will continue to harp on this. This was not some 13-year-old girl getting excited because she saw Jackson Drake on Tubi and getting a selfie in the lobby. This wasn't that. And in fact, there was a 13-year-old girl who got excited and took a selfie in the lobby with Jackson, and I don't care because she had paid at the table for something else and because she got excited in the lobby. Do I care? I don't. I care at this thieving piece of shit not wanting to pay any money, but walking around the con for free. I'm sure he found a way to snake himself into the con for free. If I were a betting man, I'd bet on it. You think he paid for tickets?
I'm sure he had a media pass or something.
Some garbage like that. And so he walks around stealing from the vendors all day long. And of course, most of the vendors will say nothing, right? Because they perceive this guy as a platform or they want to do right by the talent. He is not doing anything to elevate the talent. He's a goof. And a thief. And I am glad he did delete the post because I was not going to let it go. You still owe me money. And honestly, it proves what a thieving piece of shit, a coward he actually is, because the right thing to do was to DM me and ask for my Venmo because he owes us money. He does. And to think that you can just walk around trolling the lobby of a con, stealing from the vendors, it tells you what kind of piece of garbage he actually is. And I mean, I'm fired up about it even now
I
because
mean,
he put my talent in a spot where they felt like they couldn't say no, because he acts like he's somebody. He's a nobody. He's garbage. Okay, and now is this $75 mean anything to me? No, it doesn't mean anything to me. But for some reason, it enrages me because it's the entitlement. That's what it is. It's the entitlement. This is not a fan. This is not a fan trying to, let me get a quick freebie. And we used to joke years ago about people mooching in the lobby, right? This is not that. This is something else. This is someone pretending to be an insider, pretending to be a professional, and stealing from the vendors and chasing clout in the lobby. It's embarrassing. It's disgusting.
And those fans that you've mentioned that would mooch in the lobby and steal in the lobby, they've been banned. Like Big Event banned a whole bunch of them that they're not allowed to be at the show anymore.
Many of these people have been banned. Yep.
If this guy thinks that he's above, I can't speak for any convention that, I'm not running. So I'm in no position to make threats, but it's not above the realm of possibility that someone would be banned for doing what he just did, because you can't, and I'm sure we're not the only one he got like that in the lobby. And like you said, I don't think these guys, especially Brad and Ricky, they just got off the clock, meeting and greeting a lot of interesting people, a lot of cool people, but there were a couple of weird interactions of people that didn't even pay a dime, and I'm sure they just wanted to get home and get out of there and go on to the next part of their day and not be harassed in the lobby by this person. And they weren't supported by him. Hell, if Brad and Ricky would have said $20 each and they would have pocketed the cash,
no problem with that.
I still wouldn't. Yeah, at least they're making some money, but you're getting nothing out of this. Absolutely nothing.
What kills me is the lie that I'm going to give you the rub. I'm going to give you, visibility with my podcast. It makes me so mad. I'm so mad about it. I'm so mad about it. This guy should be banned. This guy should be banned from shows. To do that and then to just delete the post. I mean, look, I guess on one level he could have blocked me and kept the post up, right? But also, I mean, I think I could have gotten people to then just relentlessly harass him on Instagram if that were the case. But that wasn't necessary. And I don't recommend necessarily doing that, but I will continue. I mean, we're going to tag them on Facebook. I'll happily tag them wherever. Because I think I need people. I need this guy to understand why he is a bottom feeding leech on. He provides nothing of value. Nobody gets any visibility from anything he says or does. He just takes. And it honestly, it did a decent. I was flying high from Wrestlecon. I really was. We did very, very, very good business. Jackson in particular was a rock star. He killed it, but everyone did well. Everyone seemed to have a good time. But it's funny because I remember years ago I used to sort of mock and make fun of vendors a little bit. But when you're laying out money for talent and you see people stealing, and that for some of these guys, $50, $75, $100 is the difference between making and breaking bookings like this. And if people showing the willingness to just steal is crazy to me. I mean, frankly, I'll say this. I mean, I wasn't planning on talking about this. I gave Brad and Ricky a talking to for doing freebies at the indie show the night before. I said, when you took a convention booking, the people who were in town for this show are going to be at the con, and you gave them for free what I'm paying you for tomorrow. Now you have the right to do whatever you want, but you got to understand, if people are lining up to get something for free, you should be charging them for it, because I am paying you to provide this service the next day. And so you cost me a little bit of money by doing freebies at the show the night before. And I said that to them directly, and they kind of I think they were a little bit embarrassed. But again, look, you're a talent. It's exciting. You have people coming up to you and, wanting to meet you. I don't fault them at all. I get it. I totally get it. They did what most people would do in that situation, except the real carnies, But some of these fans are smart. They've been around a long time. They know how to emotionally manipulate, especially the younger talents, and so they get stuff for free instead of paying for it. And when you're hired for a guaranteed money booking, it's kind of bad form to give it away for free. But again, talent does not want to say no, because they know in this day and age, stuff can make you look bad. That's really all it is.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of touch on a couple of the points that you made. In general, I think this whole, which it'll absolutely never stop because the clout is always going to be desired. But this whole going around trying to get people to appear on your podcast is just, I don't know, it's lame. Why would, what is appearing on this small little podcast going to do for any of these talents? Absolutely nothing. Granted, our podcast is different. It's not really like that we would just sit here and chat about wrestling. But I'm fairly confident if we reached out to any of these guys that we work with regularly and we tried to get them to come on this show, we could. They would do it for us. But we don't do that because what is that going to do for them? It's pointless for them. It's not going to help them. We're wasting everyone's time for what? So we could say, oh, we're interviewing, we're Mean Gene Okerlund. We're interviewing, what are you going to do, Hulkster? Like, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. And to go back to what you said about the indie show and just giving it away, I've been telling them right along with you for months, the emphasis on charging. And I understand I'm a hypocrite because when I was on the other side of the table, I would be happy for anyone to give something away. And here I am now telling talent that you shouldn't give it away. But on a business level, they absolutely should not. The answer should always be, you should be, again, forget about us. They owed us only the day that they worked for us, in theory. They should have been charging the night before for themselves. That's the point. Catch me inside. I'll have a table inside. I stopped giving stuff away. And like I asked the Shooter Boys, I'm like, what do you guys charge at the indie shows when you set up? And the price they quoted me was a good price. Fans might not think it's a good price, but it's a good price. They know their worth. They're protecting their value. Because it's hard you get a booking for a convention. We charge what we charge. Some of these people out there are at indie shows still doing $5 8x10s and a free photo op. Like, when you're pricing yourself that low, how do you build your value from there? It's just,
yeah. You were joking that you were not a joke. You mentioned to me that Sam Holloway, he opened up a new online store and is charging $25 for an 8x10. And what did I say? Good. Thank you, Sam Holloway, for doing it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta respect yourself.
And so I know this sounds like, what are we doing here? We crossed over to the dark side, and maybe in some way we have, right?
Oh, we definitely have.
But there's something about how you can, and this is something that I think is maybe it's just me, how you can look me in the eye, talk to me as a person, then steal from me the next day, or steal from me a couple hours later. That's what was happening. That's what the dude from this podcast did. I spoke to him. We chatted when he did the Emily Jaye thing because he saw I was pissed that he was wasting my time on my table, and I said nothing because again I didn't feel like I had the right to, given the circumstances of the deal with Emily Jaye. If he came by when Jackson was on the clock, I would have dragged him out by the collar. And I have no problem with that. But but he looked me in the eye and we chatted on Friday, and he came and stole from me on Saturday. And like, I cannot comprehend the kind of person who does that. This is not some name. I'm not some nameless. We are not some nameless, faceless entity. He I spoke to him personally. You didn't speak to him on Friday. You were doing Ospreay or Okada, I think, at the time. So, you were busy doing, actual marked out collectibles business. Here I am talking to this clown. So he knew my face. He knew, who brought those guys in, who paid for them. And then he walked up and just stole and had no recourse or remorse about it. Never reached out after the fact, after being called out on it. So, I will say overall, there was not a ton of, from what I could tell, a ton of mooching and stuff like that at Wrestlecon. I mean, this guy was mooching things like crazy. I'm sure he didn't pay for anyone he got. There was actually another woman, another influencer. You were not there for this one either on Friday.
I wasn't. I missed all the juicy stuff.
She came over when the Shooter Boys were there, and she goes, "Oh, I'm an influencer. I have 6 million," and then she couldn't say followers because that would have been a lie. So she kind of just fumbled the next word. I think it was views, which is much less impressive than followers, by the way. So she starts talking up the Shooter Boys, and it's embarrassing because they're like 19 years old, and she's like well into her 40s. And she was chatting them up in the most embarrassing way. And then she's like, "Can I get a picture of you guys? You're not going to charge me $50, are you?" And I looked at her and I go, it's 20. And then she says, "Oh, I'm not going to pay." And I said, "So you're not going to support them at all because the money goes to them. They're 19-year-old kids. You're not going to support them on their wrestling journey. You just want to take a picture with them so you can post it on social media." And she skulked away. So, I didn't get her name, but she was she was dressed up in some ridiculous thing. And the funny was, apparently she is some kind of influencer, whatever the hell that means, of some repute. Because one of the other, I think Nyla Rose recognized her and was like, "Oh my God, I see you on Instagram," or something like that. And to me, part of the problem is I look at these influencers, I find them to be repulsive on multiple levels.
Are they as repulsive as the porn industry?
No, the porn industry drives people into poverty. These influencers are just morons. But anyway, it gave me a sour taste at the end of the show because of just the sort of brazen taking advantage of these guys, and for rightly or wrongly, and probably wrongly, to be honest, I feel protective of them. They don't take a lot of. Let me rephrase. They haven't taken any autograph bookings except ours. Any. And so I am protective of them in that way. I don't want people to take advantage of them. I don't want people to rip them off. They're kids in my eyes. I mean, that may be a little patronizing, but they're in their early 20s. I mean, Brad's 20 or 21. Jackson's he's just almost 22. Ricky's like 25. I have a sort of a protective posture instinctively in that way. I don't want people ripping them off. I don't want people taking advantage of the fact that they're eager and go-getters and trying to be nice and trying to be liked and trying to succeed. And these people can take advantage of that. So anyway, how are Ospreay and Okada?
Well, Ospreay and Okada, we were supposed to do completely like in the back room, private. But the thing is with a show like this, I think there's just the understanding and expectation that so many of the people are staying on site that a lot of the scheduling of these events sort of just happen a little more spur of the moment than if you're traveling 2 hours, and that that you're able to sort of accommodate. So we missed our slots with both Ospreay and Okada. So we had a little bit of a stress on. That was probably the only stress we had on Friday. Well, beyond the part when there was that accident, and then all of a sudden our GPS jumped to a 2:30 arrival time, and I had to exit out of the trip and restart it, and then it went down to a normal hour that we expected. That was stress, that moment. But beyond that, it was just trying to get Okada and Ospreay to see when we were exactly going to do it. But once we did, they were awesome. Ospreay inscribed everything, pen switches, whatever you wanted. He was awesome. Everything we had that we needed done was filled as requested. Okada was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Again, inscribed anything you wanted. Super cool. Those are two guys I really never knew when or if I would meet them, because they don't make a lot of towns convention wise. They really don't.
I did a pro op with Okada. I had the IWGP version 4 belt. If you know, you know, it's the best belt I've ever seen. It's incredible. He popped for it and did a great pose. It was awesome. I did a pro op with Muta because Muta was in gear with the mask paint thing, and that was great too. So that was the only stuff I got done. Otherwise, I was working the table like a dog.
Yeah, I got my ops with Okada, and I felt bad you missed out on getting Ospreay because we weren't the timing of when it took place. We both couldn't be there.
Yeah, there's nothing to do, nothing to be done.
So does that wrap up your thoughts on WrestleCon?
Yeah, pretty much. So coming up for us, the big story is Steel City is this weekend. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great show. I'm excited for it.
Are we committing? Are we doing the on location recording? Is that happening?
Yes, absolutely. Saturday night we'll do it.
And I don't want to, I think we're going to be joined by Greg 2600. I think he's going to be on the scene. So
all right, we'll see if he agrees to it. We haven't asked him, I don't think. But I mean, he'll be there, so he should. Yeah. As far as pre-orders and stuff like that, other than Mike Tyson in November, it's going to be quiet for a little while. We got to recuperate. We got to recalibrate our stuff from WrestleCon. There's just so much for us to then now take care of and process behind the scenes so that we can come out with some new stuff as quickly as we can.
You can say that again. I have a sea of new stuff to inventory, to list, to all that good stuff. But stay tuned.
All right, awesome. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
I know it's funny because most of the WrestleCon talk was about the one jackass, but I think the overall, thievery of the overall point, I should say, of stealing from someone who you can look in the eyes. That behind every single one of these tables is someone who's paying for it, and that's just how it goes. And so if you're,
And just my closing thoughts on WrestleCon, because again, I know what you're saying. A lot of what we talked about was like the annoying parts, but we had over the span of 2 days, we had 9 talents, and I mean, all 9 of them were tremendous.
Which I'm so proud. I'm so proud of it. I'm probably like more negative. I actually had a great time, and I absolutely loved the show, and I had a great time. It was awesome. The part that sticks in my craw is the very end, the thing that annoyed me, and I'm probably still like tired from it, which is why I'm reacting this way.
Yeah, but I just want to throw that out there. We had 9 talents who were tremendous, and I really can't believe we juggled 9 talents. I mean, even like switching prints and all these different things. It's a lot. It went really well. I'm excited about everything we did. I have a lot of content to come. I have a lot of video from my meta glasses. I'm deciding how I want to present these videos. I mean, you have fans like everyone knows Izzy. And like just seeing how like I have clips of Izzy like so excited to meet Swipe Right, and that's absolutely awesome. And then I also have a toothless woman who was trying to guess Swipe Right's ages, not paying a dime or supporting them or us in any way, mind you.
So embarrassing.
So I'm debating still how to put these videos together. Do I focus on the heartwarming? Do I mix in some of the absurd like that? I think I'm probably going to sort of mix them both up because listen, that is a convention. It is grotesque. It is heartwarming. It is sort of all of those things just sort of blended together. So just keep eyes on the socials. And listen, we're always working. The last time we had almost nothing on the docket. I think 3 weeks later we had a shit ton of things listed for the, So don't take this silence to mean anything. Once we get our stuff all listed, I'm sure we'll find opportunities to have new stuff, before you know it.
Couldn't say it better. So, for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we'll see you next week from Monroeville, Pennsylvania, Steel City Con. We are coming there to have a great time. Bye.
Yeah, don't forget the Ville.